Recruitment and retention challenges have led the U.S. Coast Guard into a system-wide service retreat. A 3,500-person shortfall, a nearly 10% shortage in the enlisted ranks, is forcing the Coast Guard to take 10 cutters out of service, transfer 5 tugs to seasonal activation, and shutter 29 boat stations. The moves, couched as a bland, I-24 force alignment initiative, present an unprecedented loss of maritime capability at a time when the United States is facing an array of complex challenges at sea. But the Coast Guard simply cannot maintain the same level of operations going forward. Behind the scenes, the service is using the crisis to advance an array of modern management and personnel initiatives to help bring more people into the Coast Guard, and keep them there. The cuts, coming as the Coast Guard has, according to Coast Guard Commandant Admiral Linda Fagan, never been in greater demand around the world, will hurt. But leaders were quick to assure the realignment will not cause a decay in existing search and rescue capabilities. But, at a minimum, the Coast Guard's retreat does reduce redundancy and raises risk. The cuts will roil the enforcement of America's maritime border, opening new and dangerous opportunities for migrants, drug smugglers and criminal networks. The Coast Guard's emergency service drawdown, however painful, is necessary. The Coast Guard's underfunded and overworked force of 57,000 active duty and reserve personnel have been stretched thin for a long time. But Fagan's decisive action, coming just days after the Coast Guard was boxed out of a $100 billion funding supplemental for security and the border, is more than just a prudent effort to redirect Coast Guard personnel towards 1,700 mission-critical billets. It is a cry for help. The Coast Guard certainly needs more funding, but, right now, it could breathe a lot easier if the service was given the flexibility to simply fund recruiting efforts and allowed to test out new personnel management approaches. The cuts to the Coast Guard cutter fleet are deep and unexpected. 3 East Coast-based Reliance-class cutters, the USCGC Confidence, wmec 619, the USCGC Dauntless, wmec 624, and the USCGC Dependable, wmec 626, will each enter layup in mid-2024, becoming little more than in-reserve parts barns for active, in-service cutters. Add in the March retirement of the Decisive, ex-wmec 629, with the long-planned retirement of the USCGC Steadfast, wmec 623, later this year, and the loss of Coast Guard cutter capability becomes quite significant. If the cuts are allowed to go through, the Coast Guard will, the space of 2 years, have cut their fleet of mid-sized oceanic workhorses by almost 19%. And, once the capability is lost, help is not coming anytime soon. Modern replacements, the Offshore Patrol Cutters, are years behind schedule.